What if I told you there's a secret plan being executed right under our noses, a plan so audacious it's silently reorganizing the world's balance of power? And what if I told you this plan doesn't involve weapons, doesn't involve war, but something much more powerful, the ability to rewrite the very economic geography of the planet? My friend, you're about to discover one of the greatest geopolitical curiosities of our era, something the mainstream media doesn't want you to know and that could completely change how you see the world. We're talking about China, of course. But not the China you know from the news. We're talking about a China that, in the last 5 years, has executed one of the most brilliant plans in modern history, learning to survive and thrive without America. And here's what will leave you jaw-dropped: they not only succeeded, but created a parallel system that's making the United States run to stay relevant. It's as if someone had taken the board of the world geopolitical game and silently changed all the rules while everyone was distracted by the day's headlines. The question that won't go away is, how the hell did they do it? How did a country that dramatically depended on the American market manage, in a matter of years, to create a reality where it's America that needs China, and not the other way around? The answer lies in the most fascinating geographical curiosities you've ever seen, in strategies that involve literally redesigning the map of world trade. Get ready for a journey behind the scenes of the greatest geopolitical transformation of the 21st century, where each topic will reveal a piece of this puzzle that's changing humanity's destiny. Did you know that one of the world's greatest geographical curiosities lies hidden in China's strategic location? Well, my friend, geography has never been just about maps and mountains, it's always been about power, and China figured this out long before any geopolitics manual was ever written. With a coastline stretching over 14,000 kilometers along the Pacific, the country naturally became a bridge between East and West, but this wasn't mere coincidence. China's geographical location placed it at the center of millennial trade routes, from the ancient Silk Road to the modern container ports that dominate global commerce today. But here's a curiosity that few people notice: China didn't become a manufacturing powerhouse by geographical accident. In fact, it leveraged its geographic features almost surgically: vast plains for agriculture, navigable rivers for internal transport, and a population concentrated in coastal regions ideal for exports. Cities like Shenzhen, which were small fishing villages in the 70s, transformed into industrial megacities precisely because of their strategic geographical position. It's as if someone had drawn the perfect map for an export-based economy, and China simply followed the script that geography itself had written. What many people don't understand is that these geographical curiosities created an almost addictive dependency. For decades, China literally reorganized its economic geography around a single customer, America. Entire regions were transformed into production centers focused exclusively on satisfying American consumer appetite. But here's the twist nobody saw coming: this same geography that made China dependent also holds the keys to its independence. And when you understand how they're using these geographical features to break free from this dependency, you'll realize the game has completely changed. Imagine waking up one day and discovering that your main source of income could disappear with the signature of a document on the other side of the world. Well, that's exactly what happened to China when Trump declared trade war in 2018. Suddenly, all those geographical curiosities that seemed like advantages turned into exposed weak points. The industrial concentration in coastal regions, which had been the driving force of the Chinese economy for decades, now revealed itself as a dangerous vulnerability. Entire cities depended on cargo ships crossing the Pacific toward American ports, and this geographical dependency was about to become a trap. What few analysts noticed at the time was that geography was revealing an inconvenient truth: China had become geographically addicted to America. Its main trade routes, its busiest ports, its most prosperous cities, everything was connected by a single line on the map that led directly to the United States. When tariffs started rising, it wasn't just trade that was being attacked, it was the entire geographical architecture of the Chinese economy. It's as if someone had discovered that the empire had been built on a single bridge, and now that bridge was swaying. But here's one of the most fascinating curiosities of this period: while the world saw only the commercial confrontation, China was secretly studying its own geography with completely new eyes. Chinese leaders realized they had made a fundamental strategic mistake. They had concentrated all their strength in a single geographical direction. It was like having all eggs in one basket, but the basket was on the other side of the ocean. And it was in this moment of crisis that something was born that would forever change the world's economic geography, something that neither Americans nor the rest of the world expected. Starting in 2020, something extraordinary began happening in China's economic geography, and Xi Jinping gave it a name: dual circulation. But let me tell you one of the most impressive curiosities about this strategy. It's not just about economics, it's about literally redesigning the country's internal map. Imagine taking a map of China and drawing new trade routes, no longer focused on coastal ports, but connecting the country's interior so it can function as an independent organism. It's as if China had decided to create a second country within its own country, one that doesn't need to look to the ocean to survive. The first part of this strategy, internal circulation, is one of the most ambitious geographical curiosities in modern history. China began investing trillions of dollars to connect its most remote regions, creating economic corridors that never existed before. Interior cities that were once just dots on the map have now become centers of production and consumption. It's as if they had discovered they had an entire continent within their own territory that was being underutilized. And here's the detail most people don't notice: this isn't just an economic strategy, it's a geographical revolution. But the second part of dual circulation is where things get really interesting. China didn't abandon foreign trade, it simply decided to change the direction of the arrows on the map. Instead of all trade routes pointing to the United States, now they spread like a spider web across the entire globe. It's as if China had transformed its economic geography from a one-way highway into a complex road network with multiple exits. And the result of this is changing not only China's destiny, but the geographical balance of world power. Have you ever stopped to think how fascinating it is the way China is literally redesigning the map of world trade? One of the most impressive geographical curiosities of recent years is seeing how the Chinese are creating trade routes that simply didn't exist before. If you look at a commercial map from 2010 and compare it to today's, it will seem like someone took a pencil and drew completely new lines connecting China to the rest of the world. In 2000, more than 20% of Chinese exports went to America, but today that number has dropped to just 15%. This doesn't mean China is exporting less, it means it has found new paths on the map. What's happening is a true revolution in commercial geography. China isn't just changing its destinations, it's creating new destinations. Countries that were once just small dots on the global map have now become gigantic commercial partners. Southeast Asia, which many considered just a transit region, now buys more from China than the United States itself. It's as if China had discovered that the world is much larger than it thought, and that there were entire markets waiting to be explored. And here's a curiosity that will surprise you: many of these new commercial partners are geographically closer to China than the United States ever was. But the most impressive thing is how this new commercial geography is creating a kind of domino effect. When China begins to trade intensively with a country, that country automatically becomes less dependent on the West. It's as if each new trade route that China creates is a small declaration of geographical independence. And the result of this is that we're seeing the birth of a new world economic geography, where the center of gravity is slowly shifting from the Atlantic to the Pacific. China isn't just surviving without America, it's creating a world where America needs to compete to be relevant. If you want to understand one of the greatest geographical curiosities in modern history, you need to know about the Belt and Road Initiative. Imagine someone looking at a world map and deciding, I'm going to physically connect China to the rest of the world through railways, ports, and highways. Sounds crazy, right? But that's exactly what China did starting in 2013, investing more than $1 trillion to literally redesign global geography. They built railways through the mountains of Laos, ports in Sri Lanka, highways in Kenya, and power plants in Pakistan. It's as if China had decided that if geography didn't favor its plans, it would simply create a new geography. What makes this initiative even more fascinating is that it's not just about infrastructure, it's about creating a new geographical reality. When you build a railway connecting China to Kazakhstan, you're not just creating a trade route, you're changing the geographical importance of entire countries. Suddenly, nations that were on the periphery of world trade become central points of a new global network. It's one of the most impressive curiosities of geopolitics, how infrastructure can literally change the importance of a place on the map. And here's the detail few people notice: every kilometer of railway, every new port, every highway built is a vote of confidence in the geography of the future. Today, more than 140 countries have joined the Belt and Road Initiative, representing 75% of the world's population. This means 3/4 of humanity is now connected by China-funded infrastructure. It's as if China had created a global nervous system, where it is the brain and the rest of the world are the connected limbs. And here's a curiosity that will shock you: while the West was focused on sanctions and trade wars, China was silently building the future of world economic geography. The result is that today there exists a parallel geography, where trade routes no longer necessarily pass through the Atlantic, but can cross Asia, Africa, and reach Europe through paths that China helped build. One of the most impressive curiosities of the Chinese transformation is how they are literally changing the geography of world innovation. Since 2018, China has poured more than $500 billion into research and development, and the result is that cities you didn't even know existed are now producing more advanced technology than Silicon Valley. Take Shenzhen, for example. 40 years ago it was a fishing village, today it's the global center of smartphone and electronics production. It's as if someone had taken a map of world innovation and completely redesigned it, placing China at the center. And here's a geographical curiosity that will surprise you: China now produces more technological patents than the United States and Europe combined. But what really impresses is how this technological revolution is changing China's internal industrial geography. When Americans banned the export of advanced chips to China, everyone thought it would be the end of Chinese technological ambition. But the opposite happened: China created a completely new industrial geography, focused on national production. Huawei shocked the world in 2023 by revealing a 7-nanometer chip produced entirely on Chinese soil. It's as if external pressure had forced China to discover that it had an internal industrial potential that it didn't even know about. And this transformation is happening in regions that were previously just rural, creating a new geography of high technology. The infrastructure that supports this technological revolution is another fascinating curiosity. China built a high-speed rail network of more than 40,000 kilometers, longer than the rest of the entire world combined. This isn't just about transportation, it's about creating a geography where innovation can flow instantly between cities. Imagine being able to leave Beijing in the morning, have lunch in Shanghai, and dinner in Guangzhou, all in the same day. It's as if China had transformed the entire country into a single megacity connected by high-speed rails. And the result is that ideas, talents, and resources now circulate through the country at a speed that makes geographical innovation a tangible reality. And we come to the end of this fascinating geographical journey, where one of the greatest curiosities of the 21st century is unfolding before our eyes. China not only survived without America, it created a world where America needs to run to stay relevant. If you look at a world economic map from 2025 and compare it to 2018, it will seem like someone literally turned the globe upside down. The center of economic gravity, which for centuries remained in the North Atlantic, is now inexorably shifting to the Pacific. And here's a geographical curiosity that will leave you jaw-dropped. For the first time in modern history, more than half of world trade happens without directly involving the United States. What we're seeing is the birth of a new geography of power. China didn't destroy the American system, it simply created a parallel and more attractive system. Today, if you're a developing country in Africa or Asia, you have a geographical choice your parents never had. You can look west and see Washington, or look east and see Beijing. And more countries are choosing to look east. It's as if China had created a geographical magnet so powerful that it's reorganizing the economic orientation of entire continents. And the most impressive thing is that this didn't happen through war or conquest, but through investment, infrastructure, and a deep understanding of how geography shapes the destiny of nations. But perhaps the most fascinating curiosity of all is this: China proved that geography is not destiny, it's choice. When they found themselves geographically tied to a single commercial partner, they didn't accept this limitation as permanent. Instead, they took the world map and literally redesigned the routes of global trade. They built railways where there were only mountains, created ports where there were only deserted coasts, and transformed deserts into commercial corridors. And the result is that today we live in a world where economic geography is no longer determined by nature, but by political will and investment capacity. China not only survived without America, it showed the entire world that it's possible to rewrite the rules of global economic geography. And this, my friends, might be the greatest geographical curiosity of our era. And there you have it, folks. China's secret plan revealed through the most impressive geographical curiosities of the 21st century. 7 topics that show how a country can literally redesign the world's economic map when it decides that geography is not destiny, but choice. If you enjoyed this content, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment which of these geographical curiosities impressed you the most.